Wow. Hello, Andy.
Hi, Charles. Hi.
So, wow, I'm going to, Audrey, do you have admission rights to admit people?
Yes.
Fantastic. So if you don't mind helping with that.
Mm-hmm.
It will just ask me to reassign.
Okay. Great. So shall we start with taking up a collection or an introduction? Let's start with an introduction. So I've got some of our Prowess partners on today. Is Audrey, manages Prowess. So if you see her give me instructions, she is really good at keeping me on track and helping everything go smoothly. And Audrey is responsible for all the technical stuff, the admin we've got an administrator, Haley. So as we do the work that we're supposed to do, they are an amazing team. And then my colleague and partner in Sweden is Jenny today. And so we, the Prowess team. Alistair will probably, he's not on today. He's one of the partners in Prowess. He's got another client meeting that he couldn't get out of. But this is the team behind the scenes that make things happen, and with Audrey in place, a lot of the stuff have been able to be executed. She's got a gift in strategy and pulling things together. So Audrey is our go-to person, is my go-to person in a lot of the Prowess matters. And I've been coaching quite a bit, doing some mentoring, and been able to depend on Audrey. So we have our regular weekly meetings with Jenny as we grow our footprint around the world. So I'm going to give over to Audrey and Jenny just to greet you. So that you know who are they're not only beautiful, they are extremely bright to keep me on track. So Jenny and Audrey, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think Charles said a lot of things now, but basically we're just here to serve you in what you need to do in raising a righteous standard of leadership. So if you need any support or anything, we just reach out. We're a great team together. And thank you for joining today.
Happy to see everyone. I'm Jenny, speaking from the northern part of the hemisphere, Sweden, and delighted. And I'm so happy that we finally are up and running and that we are on track. And I'm looking forward to the amazing things we're going to do together in finding potential in people, changing companies, organizations, communities, and countries. That's what we're on the vision for Prowess, and so happy to team up with all of you and looking forward to this year and to what lies in the future for us doing together. Looking forward to today, and please stay in touch in our community. We are creating new platforms to collaborate, and we'll update on that. So thank you so much for joining in.
Well, thank you. I'll maybe just for good protocol, you don't need to wear a mask today. We're virus free. I've got a very good antivirus on my software. So I'm going to just go around the room and maybe just your name and your interest in coaching and mentoring and leadership development. I know everyone on this call today, you are involved in leadership. You are leaders. Some of you are leading teams. But just that we know your name and which part of the world you're from, it'd be lovely to hear you. Anybody can go first.
Okay, let me take the opportunity. I'm Svante Hector. I am living a bit north of Jenny, actually, in Karlstad, Sweden. And I have two roles in where I practice raising up other leaders in mentoring and coaching. I work half of my time with IBRA as a business developer, lots of training. And then the other part of my life I spend with Mentors Across, which is a private business, which is focusing, helping leaders, individuals, and teams of leaders to succeed through mentoring and coaching and some other stuff as well. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Andy, living here in Cape Town with Sue, my wife. I'll let her speak for herself. Yeah, with regard to coaching, our main focus is helping young adults within their own personal leadership from across the Cape Flats, primarily but not exclusively among the indigenous peoples of Cape Town. And that's working in conjunction with an NGO that is also very much involved in entrepreneurship and helping communities as well as individuals innovate in terms of solutions to various problems. So that's the main focus of my coaching.
So I work alongside Andy in the same leadership academy scheme, let's call it that, I suppose. And my heart is to see young women really find their life purpose, and when they move into their jobs and also into their futures, you know, just to help them with accountability and working at work, because it's a different story to being coached, you know, one-on-one, and then they get to work and it's like, oh, this is different. So yeah, that's my heart for the young people of the Cape Flats. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Winston. I'm related to Charles on top. I'm the adopted brother. I'm stationed in Cape Town. I got involved in coaching a few years ago when I attended the Swedish Winter Challenge in Jönköping. And I left the IT industry of being a consultant. And then I went into coaching in the manufacturing sector with Renier through School of Empowered Management. I then decided to go on sabbatical. And Charles has managed to get me back to my passion. So I'm re-establishing myself as a coach and mentor. Yeah.
Good. You're welcome to go, Marty.
I was just going to jump in. Hi, everybody. I got into coaching through the recruitment gateway. And I learned very early on in my career that people don't really leave jobs, they actually leave bosses. And it was just through interviewing a lot of people that I learned the power of good leadership and what that really means. And a big part of my journey was walking with Charles and Renier and teaching me about leadership and getting involved in Mentors and Business Coaches International And then I entered the finance and the fintech industries, respectively, and developed a love for millennials. The age group that scared me the most was the one that I believe I got chucked into, boots and all. And I've had the greatest fun in, and working with young women across different geographical areas. My last role, I was involved with people in Iceland, young leaders in Iceland, Portugal, London, Brazil. And the one thing that I've learned is that we all have the same needs, and that coaching, just really covers all of those geographical and age barriers. So yeah, it's a really interesting journey for me, and really great to be involved. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you. Eddie, welcome. Just your name, where you're from, which part of the world. I see it's behind you.
So, Eddie de Beer, I'm situated in Vereniging. It's a city just south of Johannesburg in South Africa. And currently the trade is an accountant, also helping coaching in businesses and beyond.
Thank you, Eddie. Pierre.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Pierre, based in Durban. I'm very interested in experimenting with executive coaching online and in person, and its relationship with lean management and quality assurance.
Thanks, Pierre. Daniel.
Hi, I'm Daniel from Sweden. I have a background as a sports photographer and won an international award with a surfing picture behind me the last year. And I've been doing the training twice and been facilitator on the training two times as well. And sadly, I've been struggling with my health, so I will do a new try to do the field work and finish that. And I love to see people grow into their God-given potential. From my own journey, I found that I was able to do much more than I believed about myself. And I see that a lot of people has potential for so much more than they believe about themselves.
Thank you, Daniel. Beatrice, which part of the world are you in?
I'm in Seoul, South Korea, Charles. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Beatrice Simusa. I'm in Seoul, South Korea. I work in the area of finance. I'm an chartered accountant and also a mentor. I've enjoyed mentoring people from 2017 when I was introduced to MBCI through Charles, and I did my first course in Cape Town. In Durban? Is it in Cape Town? Cape Town, yeah. And I have been mentoring people since then. But the past year, I've noticed the shift that I'm now mentoring a lot of university students, people that are just getting into the market out there and trying to find themselves and deciding, between what they've learned and what their passion is, and just trying to help them unlock that and, find out their next stage in life. So that's been very, very interesting.
Wow, thank you. Francois.
Good afternoon. Sorry, the computer that I'm on at the moment doesn't have a camera, so you'll have to suffice with my name. I'm from Cape Town, and I'm involved with entrepreneurs and business leaders with their projects and their challenges that they have.
Thank you, Francois. Sarita.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarita Kaminsky. I live in the culture city of the country in Midrand in Johannesburg. I'm a school principal, but so my purpose is to help people to develop God's purpose for their lives, to find out what God created them for. So I do it at a child level, but I also do it with parents and business leaders. So I have a dual role. I speak with the babies and the adults.
Wow, wow. Sarita is such an inspiration when it comes to education and transformation. Anki, or for, as you see her name, Anne-Christine, but Anki, she is, I call her my African sister.
Hello, Charles. Yes, that's nice. It's because I have a number of years behind me in Africa, in Congo. When we went to South Africa, we didn't feel that we were in Africa, really. It was so different from Congo. Well, I live in Sweden, the same city as Jenny in Jönköping. And I joined MBCI in 2015 and also did my field work. Currently, I'm working with immigrants to help fighting the segregation and also to create equal possibilities for everyone concerning health. And I try to, this is a full-time job, and I try to apply mentorship in my everyday work. I am also very engaged in a couple of NGOs and in the leadership of the church at my spare time. So that's also some different arenas where I try to apply everything that I have learned about mentorship. Yes, thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Have we, I'm sure we have everyone. Audrey, I don't see another screen. I must admit, every bit of technology in front of me was born after me. So I'm an immigrant to this technology, and I've got 3 screens looking at me, and I never know where to look. So today, as we kick off, and a warm welcome. I see our guys in Jeffreys Bay are dropping in and out, Willem and Dani. But Eddie, you're welcome to send them a message and say, we understand. We all would rather be surfing at Jeffreys Bay right now. So I had a dental emergency that was fixed this morning. So if I sound funny, my front tooth broke off on Sunday afternoon, right in front. And the dentist put a temporary polymer on to fill the gap. Now, for those of you who know Cape Town, I would have been truly Cape Townian if I'd been here without my front teeth. So there was a period in history where Cape Townians were encouraged to extract their front teeth. And particularly the colored community latched onto that culture, and it became a cultural norm to have your front teeth that were perfectly healthy extracted. And they called that the passion gap. So Andy and Sue, who works in the colored communities, they have to deal with many passion gaps. So if I sound funny, or if certain words don't come out, it's because I've got a temporary gap filler. It's not a real tooth. And if it does come out, you are welcome to laugh very loud. I will join you in that. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully get the technology working. I'm going to share some ideas and some thoughts about working with executives. But Audrey has given me some homework to share with you, and I hope I can share it without messing it all up. Can you see that?
Yeah, but we see your presentation mood.
All right, I'm going to try and play it.
Yeah.
Do you
No.
still?
Yeah, you have to shift screens.
Oh,
because you see, we see your presenter's mode.
Okay, is it okay that I just leave it in presenter's mode?
Yeah, but you can go up to the top, Charles, and then you have change screens. I think it's on Zoom. You can see it on Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead.
I'm trying.
You can use it that way. It works.
Okay. Good. So this is just, Audrey, would you like to speak into this?
It's just a reminder of the membership applications that are open, and below at the bottom of the screen there's the link. I also put it in the chat box, so if you haven't applied and you want to, then it's a very straightforward process. Just go through the application form on the website. So it's basically just a reminder. And then next week we will start with the online training, the Prowess training. It's 12 weeks, Tuesday afternoon, South African time, 4 to 6. We will have an online class. Charles will present that. And then for the new people, there will be one-on-one mentoring sessions. That might be opportunity for the registered coaches to also get involved. And this is the training that will then become the prerequisite for becoming a Prowess member in the future. And this training is then free for all Prowess members as part of our continuous development. And below is just a link to register. That's that, Charles.
Thank you, Audrey. Wow. As you can see, for those, many have been asking a lot of administrative questions. You're welcome to email Audrey, and she will guide you and answer you with regards to membership. And you know, we're talking about today specifically about working with executives. And one of the biggest challenges, we had a presentation in January with an organization called Korn Ferry in the US, and they're a global Fortune 500 consulting firm, consultants to the Fortune 500 companies. So they're quite big, and they bought the Harvard research, a 3-year research that into leadership that was done by Harvard. And they bought that research, and we were privy to that information. And one of the key things that came out of that is the requirements for future leaders and the challenges that leaders are going to have to face in future. I don't think they're going to do it without having good coaches and good mentors. It's one of the, I see it in the companies I'm working with the people I'm mentoring and coaching. There's one thing they tell me after every session is the words, "Thank you. I would never have seen it this way." And we know in coaching and in mentoring, we never share our views or hint at possible solutions. They must find it within them. And our journey as mentors and coaches is to help them dig deep. And leaders are going to have to shift gears right now. The leaders who are going to be leaders in the future are the ones who are able to navigate this change that's happened in the world. What COVID has done, and if you look at global supply positions, the global supply chain has been completely disrupted. And I'm working with companies now, And some of their leaders have never lifted their heads from their desk or from their factory floors to look at the world. And what we are able to do through coaching and mentoring is to get them to look at the world differently. So our job as leadership developers, as coaches, and as mentors is it's a critical time for us now to step up. The reason why we started these masterclasses is to encourage you and to encourage others to step into this role as mentors and as coaches, and to actually see it as a calling, to see it as something that's not, I do it in my spare time or when I feel like it. It's to really ready your heart, ready yourself for the journey ahead. And we're going to play a pivotal role. And some of you are working with government leaders, some of you are working with organizational leaders, some of you are working with corporate leaders right now. If you're working with corporate leaders, they are feeling the pressure. I'm working with 2 corporates right now, and the pressure is crazy. It's actually, I feel for them. So I'm going to try and share my other screen. So look at this. This is Audrey and I practiced this yesterday. So I'm going to try and do this as seamlessly as possible. So I'm hoping I can be this clever. And I saw my good friend Svante Hector do this with his iPad. So let's see. Is that clear?
Yes,
Right.
that's good.
You must know how excited I am to get this right. I know I don't look it, but just to get this technology working, I'm so excited. So, coaching tools empowering executives. Executives are becoming younger and more stressed, carrying much more responsibility than before. And one of the biggest things executives are going to have to navigate through is their own behavior and their own fears. And there was a study, and I don't have a slide for it because it's a study done by Gallup. And if you do Google it, or you do require, I can send it to you. And they looked for they looked at what are the competencies that leaders would need in the future. What expectations will be on leaders? What competencies are they going to need to have? And they called it competencies 2.0. Gallup has a way of coming up with 2.0 and 1.0. So they called it competencies 2.0. And there are 7 things that the people the leaders you are coaching, and if you're a leader, they discovered that there are 7 critical things that's going to be needed going forward. And they did this research from 550 job roles and 360 unique job competencies. So they researched it and then said, so what's going to be needed going forward? They said the first thing they said is a leader is going to need the ability to build relationships. And yet executives feel that, and I know that some of the executives I work with, they feel that because they have the title of the executive, people automatically need to respect that position. They need to respect them. But they lack the ability to build tangible and meaningful relationships. And that's the first thing Gallup said. For your leadership to survive the future, and I use the word leadership because the research from Harvard and Korn Ferry particularly said we have to shift from thinking leader to thinking leadership. It's far more about a team than about a person. So keep that in your mind. And that leader has to build relationships. Then they need to then focus on developing people. They need to help others become far more effective in their strengths, being clear with their expectations, and they need to shift from the traditional management models of telling people to a coaching model. And this was Gallup's finding. It's critical for leadership to employ models of coaching now. So, and as a coach and as training professional coaches, I got very excited with that research finding. Leaders would have to lead change. They're going to need to recognize that change is now essential. No longer are leaders having to deal with change that's in the future. They're going to need to deal with constant tsunamis. And when I say constant tsunamis, the playing field is changing constantly beneath their feet. So an executive, if you want to, I'm just unpacking where executives are and where they need to be in the future. So if you're taking notes, this is what I'm talking about. Executives need to deal with not tsunamis of tomorrow, but the tsunamis that's happening right now. One of the biggest exporters in South Africa I'm working with, they did not see a tsunami coming with the supply supply restriction crisis that's happening right now. The global supply chain is in crisis. They didn't see it coming. And they have about 9 major factories in South Africa. They're all at risk unless they can fix their supply issues. Because the traditional management model was our supplier must give us stock. They must give us what we ordered. The problem is that their suppliers cannot find stock in the current global crisis. So COVID has not only locked people in their houses, it's also locked them away from the production floor, locked them away from the mineral mines, it's locked them away from creating the resources that these factories have needed to run. And now it's hitting these factories and it's not going to get better. So if you're coaching executives right now, you need to ask them the hard question. What is happening in the world? What is happening in their supply chains? What's happening around them? And what is going to be required of them in the future? So they're going to have to lead constant change. And the tsunamis, it's not going to give them a warning. We have tsunami warnings all along the Asian coast right now. But in business, there are no tsunami warnings. Fourthly, they're going to need to inspire others. They're going to need to have a level, when we talk about emotional intelligence, an EQ where they can motivate themselves. It's no longer just about motivating themselves. They need to now inspire others. They need to think critically. And 6, they need to communicate very clearly. I was listening to one of the directors of a company that's really moving through Africa, Mitsui. And his communication as a global leader was shocking. I could not understand half the things he was saying. But he was talking about the vision for Africa. And this is a multi-billion-dollar company. And that leader communicated so poorly, I don't think it did their massive company any justice. So leaders are going to need to communicate clearly, and I don't mean talk English. They need to listen and understand what people are hearing, not to just say things. So communication is becoming key. I've been studying and using a tool that I was introduced to on the Swedish Winter Challenge called SAVI. And you can Google it, S-A-V-I. And it was developed after the Second World War and helped the world really and people communicate clearly. So communication, and lastly, they're going to have to create accountability. No longer can leaders and governments, are they allowed to get away with what they did before? We see the social unrest in countries. Before, governments could just get away with it, but not anymore. There is this system of accountability, and in the future, it's going to become more and more important for leaders to take accountability, but not only take accountability for their own actions, they have to create accountability. Those are the key things that Gallup's research showed, and I love their research because it's very scientific and it's been very accurate over the years. So I want to help us. What are the tools we need? And these are discussion points, and I'm going to allow you to, and I might just bounce on some of you to get feedback. The discussion points today is for us as coaches and as mentors and as leadership role players and leadership thinkers that's in the room today. We need to connect. It's about confidence, about collaboration and care. So those are the 4 pillars I want to build on today. Connect, confidence, collaboration, and care. So as a mentor, as a coach, as a leadership development, if you're going to change a community, if you're going to change an organization, if you're going to change a country, you have to start with its leaders. And I know that the calling for Prowess, and we spent 2 days, Fanta was with us, and some of you were with us in a room in Nairobi, where we workshopped what is our calling, what is the key thing that Prowess, who will we serve in the future? And Svante, do you remember who was the key person or the people that Prowess was going to serve in future? I don't know if you can remember 2 years back.
Well, I remember that at least as a persona for our exercise, we used the present president of that country as our persona to identify what are the challenges, what are the needs, and what is our value proposition.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, you're going to have such a good memory.
Sometimes, Charles.
It's really, we know that Prowess, we are preparing our facilitators, our coaches, our mentors to be positioned to mentor and to coach presidents and leaders of countries, leaders of corporations, of organizations. So the tools I'm going to give you and share with you, and the training that we're going to do next week, is really to equip and share knowledge and resources on how we do that. So the question is, we have to connect with executives in order to coach and mentor and to influence them. Where do you find these executives in your area? So maybe 1 or 2 comments, and a shortcut. for those who have a keyboard, you can just press the big space bar and your mic will immediately unmute and you can just start talking. So if you just press the space bar at the bottom of your keyboard, it will unmute and you can start talking. Where in your field do you find executives? Or where could we find executives? Any ideas? If we are going to coach and mentor and sign MOUs with executives, where do we find them? In order
LinkedIn can be a great tool to find and target that kind of group.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Daniel. Anybody else?
Through MBA schools?
Yeah.
Pierre here, from personal experience, the past 3 years with my partner doing marketing. The only place where we can find executives is through personal relationships. We had zero success with LinkedIn.
Yeah. Good.
I agree with Pierre. Sorry, it's Sarita here.
Yeah.
I think the Lord puts you into contact with people that are in your environment. I joined Toastmasters about 15 years ago, and recently a lot of young executives are joining Toastmasters because they find the need for learning to speak publicly. And through that, at the moment, I have 2 top executives that I'm coaching in how to speak well as in just in their leadership position. And so I think that is one of the ways, as Pierre said, it's basically through a personal connection.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you, Sarita. I actually never even thought of Toastmasters. Have you, Marty?
No, but through my recruitment work, I was just actually thinking maybe one other area. I work with Exco every single day of one of the biggest insurance businesses in South Africa right now, on various recruitment projects. And those kind of discussions have actually come up. So through my day job, that's been a conduit for me personally.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you. You will find executives in various places. And back in the day, you used to find them on the golf course. You'd find them in places of recreation, but it must be relational. I find that the executives I meet through a contract or through a company bringing me in, it's short term and then it's done. But the executives will come to me and ask me, I heard you do coaching and mentoring. Can I have coffee with you? Let them come to you. In all the years of mentoring and coaching, I've never had to advertise. It's always by referral. It's always people who said, you know, I've been told to contact you. Can I have coffee? And I drank so much coffee over the years, I'm addicted. So, but it's also been where I've got to know the executives. So please, you need to get to where they're at. And also, it's a good opportunity for you. Toastmasters, what a great place. Try the LinkedIn. Put your profile out there. You never know. But it's referrals. The most powerful marketing method today is still what it was 50 years ago. Word of mouth referral by a family or a friend. So The next one is confidence. We need to have confidence to sit in front of this executive. I've trained, for 20 years, I've trained coaches, and I've trained professional coaches and professional mentors. And I find the number one thing before we can make that transition into actually doing it is confidence. And especially when you're going to coach the president of South Africa or Kenya or Tanzania, or we are hoping to have the privilege of doing this for South Sudan or some of the countries where presidents really need a confidant. But for them to have a confidant, we need to be confident, right? And that confidence comes when you know that this is your calling, that you're supposed to be doing this. You need to also then invest in that calling. Now, sometimes you say, I have a gift for this. God has called me to do this stuff, so I'm just going to do it. No, you actually need to develop a continuous professional development where you read, where you constantly refreshing and sharpening your own sword. And that CPD, we call it, is so important as a coach. And I find the best way I get sharpened is by being with you, being with other coaches, talking about mentoring, talking about coaching, talking about the struggles I'm having with a client or a mentee or a coachee, and sharing that. And Rainier and I, for those of you who don't know Rainier, he was my partner for over 20 years in this business of mentoring and coaching. And we would meet every single week just to sharpen each other's swords. And iron sharpens iron. And we would do that. You need to connect with other coaches. You need to be talking about it. And then you will never develop confidence until you step out and actually do it. The most scary thing is actually to walk into that room and do it. And my first company coaching client was actually Marty's husband, Rory Heather Clark. And for any of you, and I can say that because Marty's on the call, so I'm not talking behind Rory's back. If you ever met Rory, he is he should have been Sherlock Holmes. He interrogates everything and he accepts nothing at face value. You can just imagine me walking into a room, meeting Rory. The first thing he asked me is, what benefit is it going to be for you to coach me? And my heart was beating in my throat because he had interrogated me to that point where I could feel my heart beating in my throat. And the wisdom came straight from heaven. And I said, Rory, the truth is, you cannot afford to pay the school fees to learn what I now know about mentoring and coaching. And coaches always ask me, Charles, I'm ready to go, but I'm so afraid. I'm going to walk into this room. What do I need? I said, you need to die. I would always say, you need to die to self. You need to die to your own ego. You need to die to your ability, your thinking that you're going to fix this. Confidence is not in your ability. Confidence is knowing your calling, knowing that this is a God-given calling in your life. And you have done all the preparation necessary. And now you're going to take this leap of faith into this room. You are going to use whatever God has given you to be a blessing to somebody else. And that, the more you do that, you will have the confidence to step into the room. I still, every time I walk into a room to mentor and coach, I still have butterflies. Renston has been helping me at one of the companies, the corporates that we're working with. He knows I'm very quiet before I go in that room, is because I'm trying to kill those butterflies. And they're flying all around, and I need to focus and I need to center. But the confidence is a better word for some of you would be faith. You have to step out into the unknown, and you need faith for that. I've got a few minutes left. You need to calibrate your tools. The tools that we give you as Prowess, and some of you have got the MBCI toolbox. These are tools. You've done the International Coaching Federation courses, you've developed. You need to get your own tool set as a coach and as a mentor. When you work with these executives, be careful not to treat them like children. They're executives. And a lot of the tools I have in my head, because I know if I write the tool on paper and I give them a tool and get them to use it, they're not ready for that. I need to have the tool ingrained. I can do a 5 whys with somebody, a root analysis, because I've done it hundreds of times and it's ingrained in me. And if you've ever been on our training, I always say, you are the most powerful tool in God's hands. You are the tool. The tools we use, Henry Thoreau said, we become the tools of our tools. You are the most powerful tool. Some of the tools that I use is the eye growth. And on our training that we will do over the next few weeks, I is for issues, G is for goals, R is for realities, O is for options, W is for the what, the where, the T and the H is what we have added on it as prowess. Once we know what the issue is, what are the goals, what are the options of change, who's going to do it, then I ask the executive, what thinking is actually going to prevent you from doing this? Because the future leader thinks differently. Coaching executives in future is going to become, you're going to need a skill set as a coach and as a mentor that is so sharp. And you're going to have to think differently. The executive is going to have to think differently. So I ask, what thinking is going to prevent you? Then the H is, what habits are going to stop? What habits needs to be unpacked? What new thinking do you need about this? What new habits do you need to develop? And that is an area that Pierre can speak to you about when it comes to the principles of lean. He's an expert on lean, and it's about changing thinking and habits. Next, you need to listen for the key issues. With these executives, they do not want me to write down a list of key issues. I need to remember the key issues and after the meeting make notes of what the key issues are. Because with executives, they don't want to know that they're a subject or they're a patient or they're a coachee. You have to listen very carefully to what are the key issues, and then you make your own notes. If you're on Zoom, it's a whole lot easier. You can write it off screen. But if you do have to keep the notes, please let that executive see what you are writing. Do not write in what psychiatrists do. They write, if you ever had the luxury, they write without you seeing what they're writing. And you wonder, am I mad or am I normal? And the conclusion is we're all mad. So don't ever write so that they don't see what you're writing. Open, let them see and have a look at what you're writing. Because at executive level, security is very important. Confidentiality is so important. So write words that are vague rather than very specific to their problem. So if they say they have a drug problem, please don't write that down, because all that executive is going to think of, who's going to see that page? Who's going to see those notes? So, very confidential stuff, don't write it down. Make a mental note and write it in your personal notes afterwards. Ask the hard questions. Executives need to be asked the hard questions. Do not be afraid to be thrown out of the office. I've been thrown out of an office already, but I get invited back a week later because the question was truthful and it was hard. And they did not want to face the question. But you, as the coach, the mentor, as the leadership practitioner there, you ask the hard questions. And my favorite is the God questions. The question that wasn't in your head, that wasn't in your notes, wasn't in your system, that wasn't in the executive. It came straight from heaven. Those are the questions you want to ask. And those questions, often you need to close the session after you ask those questions, because they are unable to process that question. I've had executives come back to me the following week, say, I hated you the entire week. Charles, if I could kill you, I would want to kill you because I could not sleep after you asked that question. I could not rest. It drove me insane. But thank you for asking it. And it was a God question. It was something that was relevant. I never knew. Very often I get asked, why did you ask that question? That's what you want to hear. So you also do not leave them with unsolved problems. You partner with them in their problems. So our time is up. I want to just say, lastly, you have to care. You have to care deeply for the executives you work with. It's not about, when I coach and mentor an executive, I charge top rate, and I can tell you what the rate is. It's 2,000 to 3,000 Rand an hour. In dollars, it's a very good dollar rate. In Swedish crowns, it's a good Swedish crown rate. So internationally, it's a very fair rate. In South Africa, that's a top rate to charge for coaching and mentoring. And not once have I had them say, I didn't receive my value. Because I always tell them, if you don't perceive value, I do not need to receive payment. And I'm adamant about that. And I've never not been paid by an executive. They always pay. And it's not cheap for them, but they see the value. But they also experience the care. They can phone me anytime. I take their calls. I have executives who call me outside of hours because they say, Charles, I just need to chat. So you need to care, and you can't say, oh, can't you wait till the next appointment? You know, our coaching session was only on Thursday. I would take the call and I would chat. And they know that you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And for some of the romantics in the room, we call this love. You really need to love those that you lead. And Harvard found that in their research, future leaders are going to need to show tremendous care and empathy for those they lead. It's essential. It's no longer, we are not human machines, human doings. We are human beings. So I close with my favorite quote is Theodore Roosevelt, to encourage you to step into the leadership arena. It's called The Man in the Arena. And I want to encourage you to step into this. Executives need you now more than ever. And Roosevelt said, it is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive for the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold, timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Yeah. I want to encourage you to step into the arena of mentoring and coaching, and let the executives will find you. Position yourself, whether it's at Toastmasters or on the golf course. Get into that place where you might not feel comfortable, and they will come to you and they will start speaking, because they need you now more than what you need the business. And the world is changing, and we are those leadership thinkers that can bring fresh air to those executives who are suffocating. So I encourage you to do this. Step into the ring, step into the arena. Thank you for your time. Audrey has been timing me and been telling me 2 minutes left, 5 minutes left, and thank you, Audrey, for doing that. And thank you for those who stayed on. Some had to leave. I know Jenny had another meeting at the university. So any comments, any questions before? If you need to leave, you're welcome to leave. But if you have a question, I can stay on for a few minutes. That was a download in half an hour.
Hi, Charles. Is the training that's coming up under Prowess, is that similar to what we would have experienced with MBCI, or is it with new tools, new approaches, etc.?
We do have a strong coaching element in there, so it is similar, but we've added some tools and some new thinking. So if you did the MBCI training and you're an MBCI accredited coach, we have accepted MBCI accredited coaches into Prowess. And I meet every fortnight with Michael Schultz. So we have a very open relationship. And we continue to work together on different fronts. But with Prowess, we have focused specifically in leadership and leadership development, not just training professional coaches for the marketplace.
Gotcha.
So it's a slight shift, but you're welcome to join us. It's 2 hours once a week for 12 weeks, and it's a Zoom interaction, and you can see technology actually working. Thanks to Audrey and Renston, who, when I'm stuck, they're my go-to people.
So Charles, as a clarification, that training that was presented, that is somehow similar to what was done online with the Swedish Winter Challenge in January?
Yeah, it's similar. So the Winter Challenge was 10 modules of just coaching tools. Those 10 modules is consolidated into one section. There are 4 key sections that we will train in over the 12 weeks. So we look at areas of leadership, authenticity, coaching. So we cover a number of areas, and then we look at tools. So it's very interactive. So it's about thinking leadership and what's expected is that after the 12 weeks, because we're not going to do 12 weeks of training and then say, all right, now somebody's being trained. It's actually interactive where you practice from the first session. So after 12 weeks, you have the facilitation skill to work with the executives. You don't need to do, one of the things we did before was we did the training, then we did the field work. Now we embed the field work in the training, and we use a learning management system that we bought from Sweden. So you can see our Swedish influences are very strong. So we have a learning management system that was developed in Sweden. They have more than 20 years experience in learning management or learning technology. So using technology to help people learn. So we use the same platform. If you're a coach with Prowess, you get your own login, you get your key to that. So this is, the future is technology driven. So we're using these platforms as a tool. But I will come and have fika with you, Svante. Fika is Swedish for tea time and having coffee together. So I've missed that this year. For the first time in 12 years, I've missed coming to Sweden.
Two questions. What's the cost for this, and will you see you in Sweden again in the future?
Well, if the Swedish government allows South Africans into Sweden, then you will definitely see me.
That's great news. I missed you so much last January.
I miss Sweden. I've actually felt very sad that I couldn't travel in January. But the cost, Daniel, if you're a professional coach and you're you've registered with Prowess, that will be part of your professional development, which is free. So you can sit in on the programs, on the training for free. So those 2 hours are free. For others, it's quite, they pay. So there are people coming on who will pay, who wants to learn about facilitation, mentoring, coaching, and so they will be trained and they will be given a coach to help them through their training and their field work, and they pay for that.
Charles, can you say anything about the frequency of this training? If it's impossible to join this time, how long will we have to wait for the next opportunity?
This is our first online pilot. We did a 4-day physical training session in Johannesburg, actually with Ed on Eddie's invitation. So we did the training with a group of people in his area, and some of them are very good trainers themselves. They own their own training companies. So we piloted the modules with them, and this will be our first online or digital training that we're doing. And it's, I can't remember the word, but it's live. It's not going to be recorded and have videos of coaches giving you courses. It's live and it's interactive. And we use a platform developed by a company called Skulia in Sweden.
Charles, can I just add, Anki, we are planning a second cohort starting in September. So if you can't join this one that's starting next week, I think the 7th of September, Tuesday, the first Tuesday in September, we will start a new program.
The first Tuesday in September, it will be the second time.
Yeah, for 12
Yeah.
So it will end in November, I think.
Yeah. You know, summertime in Sweden is difficult because it's yeah, vacation time and so on forth. So it's difficult to follow something on a schedule.
Jenny did explain that. So this is we will do this first one, and then we'll do a second one later in the year.
That is good to know, because it would be interesting to join, but unfortunately it's not possible now. Partly because of summertime and also because of my job. I'm working lots of late hours.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for your time today and for joining us. Let us know your feedback. These masterclasses is an hour of input into coaches and to give you tools and just to help you with thinking as a professional coach. I hope it did that today. I hope it inspired you to do the work as a mentor, as a coach, and just step out there and step into the unknown. Take a leap of faith. The world needs it. If there's one way we're going to change the world, it's by impacting leaders. So thank you for being on today. Well, for those who need to have lunch, have a good lunch. And for those who sacrifice lunch, thank you.
Thank you, Charles, and greetings to Renee also.
I will tell her.
We're in lockdown in our family. We have COVID within our walls now, so now we are isolated completely.
Oh, sorry to hear. Are they okay?
Yes, they are okay.
Okay.
I hope that we will manage without anyone getting seriously ill.
Well, you're a strong family. Well,
Charles, are you going to share the recording on the WhatsApp group?
Yes, Audrey.
Yes, I will put the link on the WhatsApp group, but maybe tomorrow. So.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed a bit of it. I got some visitors.
Sure.
All right.
You'll catch up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
we
you,
know
Charles.
late in the evening in your part of the world, Beatrice. Thank you.
Yes, it's after 8 p.m. Yeah, about 8:20 or so.
Oh, well, love to.
It's always a pleasure to come to these master classes. So I wouldn't miss them for the world.
Well,
You get to learn so much, really.
well, hope you're inspired, and let's move on.
Yes, thank you.
Let's change the world.
Yes, let's change the world one person at one leader at a time.
One leader.
Yeah.
Well, bye-bye, everyone. Have an awesome
All
afternoon.
right.